The following program was produced by Community Producer. The content, views, and opinions expressed are the sole responsibility of the Community Producer and do not reflect Malden Access Television, the City of Malden, or your cable provider. MATV welcomes your comments. Call us at 781-321-6400 or email us at access@matv.org.
Hello, welcome to Malden Square. I'm Barbara Tolstrup. My guest today is Indra Milowe, and she's recently published a collection of poetry, which is interesting enough, but this has a rather interesting story behind it. And we're here to talk about that and other interesting things, so I want to just welcome Indra. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you, Barbara, for inviting me today.
Well, I'm happy to have you, and you look so pretty. Tell me about your dress. Is it from a particular part of India?
This is a two-piece skirt and top from Gujarat, India, and unfortunately it's very cold today, so I didn't wear a sari, but I chose to wear this, which is another very dressy outfit you wear.
Oh, that's very lovely, and it goes beautifully with our floral decoration. So this is the book, The Lotus Blooms. It's very attractive, and I understand that your son, who is a graphic designer, designed the cover.
Right, that's right.
That's right. That's very interesting. So tell me about the book. What makes it so different?
First of all, Barbara, this book was written by my father, Ramsundar Prasad, who passed away several years ago. But he's written a lot of books, and after his death, we found in his bedside drawer 36 poems in a folder dedicated to my wife and my 3 daughters. And we tossed and turned, you know, what can we do with this? And then it was his 80th birthday, and because my parents have always been very involved with the Hindu temple, we had a celebration, and both my sisters read several poems. And then again, I tossed and turned, what should we do with this? And I brought it to America, and to present it to publishers, I had to put it on the computer, to put on a disc, and to send off. And I was reading this and putting it, and to read something is different from putting it from the paper to the computer, because I'm really in my father's words and thoughts and going through his mind. And I got to this one poem. I was very, very late on a Friday evening, and it's the poem, They Came, They Saw, They Conquered. And this brought me back to, oh my God, my heritage. Because my father's grandmother came to Trinidad from India as an indentured laborer. And you know, it just brought everything back. You know,
it's interesting because first of all, I had no idea initially that there was a large Indian population in Trinidad, and then I was informed by someone that they came with many of them with their families, the British families who had them as their servants, and so that there's a very large population at this point, Indo-Trinidadians, and I guess this poem refers to that time. So why don't you read it for us now?
Sure. I just wanted to finish from what you said. You know, because it's so often when somebody sees somebody from India or Indian like me, they would say, oh, I didn't know Indians were from Trinidad. Well, not many people know about the 3rd generation.
Well, it's like Italians or Irish being from America. We are now, but you know.
And, okay, so this poem, which just brought me to the core of my being, by the way, is They Came, They Saw, They Conquered. They came here since 1845. They toiled, they prayed. They worked in the sun and rain from morn to night. In their hearts and minds, Lord Rama gave them solace, Lakshman gave them courage, Mother Sita gave them a sense of duty, and Hanuman gave them protection, they saw this new land. Some had hopes to return, others decided to stay and make this land their home. They worked hard on the lands where others had tried. They knew what was to be done. And they made this place a richer country. From what they earned, they still saved a little. The desire was there to have a family. They conquered all obstacles. They worked and loved and prayed. They came to their own. They had arrived. So after I typed this on the computer, I just closed my eyes and I went through my time in India. And again, a lot of people don't know, Mahatma Gandhi is the one who demanded the English to abolish Indian indentureship. And I remember...
And when did that finally happen? Was that, at the time that the British were no longer in possession of India? They gave up?
Yes, this happened in actually March 21st, 1916.
Yeah.
And then I went back to being in Delhi, India, thinking, oh my gosh, here I am at Mahatma Gandhi's memorial site and looking at that eternal flame and to think this person did this, you know, because only in Trinidad there was 146,600 Indians came on that boat. I mean, throughout the years.
They didn't all land in Trinidad, though, did they?
No, the boat came from India and just dropped them off, you know, Jamaica, Barbados, Trinidad.
But it's interesting to think, at the beginning, and I think you said your grandmother, your great-grandmother came in 1901, and I'm sure that the people that came to Trinidad and other places didn't really come because they really wanted to. They came because they really had no choice.
Right. Yes.
So the fact that I think that speaks to his title. You know, they came, they saw, and they conquered. And I loved the poem. It was just beautiful. So tell me a little bit more about your father. I know he was a man of who wore many hats, in addition to being a very well-known published poet and author. So he's so tell me a little bit more about him. I know he reading a little bit of information about the author, meaning the poet, that he credited his grandmother, the one who came as an indentured servant, with a great with his achievements in life.
Right.
For her impression and her influence on him.
Well, there are lots about my father. One that really stands out is that when I was 11 years old, that's when we had to do, it's called common entrance, to get into high school. And the higher your grades, of course, the better high school you get into. And I got into the very fine girls' high school, and there was a lot of guys who got into good high schools.
And these were integrated at that point in time. So it was Indo, not just strictly Trinidadian or, you know.
Right. And of course, I was on cloud 9. You know, I'm in the girls' best high school, and we were having a party, and one of the boys said that even though he got into a really good high school, said that he's sorry, but he couldn't go. And they asked why, and he said his father had passed away. And, oh my God, my cross. And his mother couldn't afford to send him to school, which meant he had to buy books and he had to have bus fares. And I went home and I told my dad, and he was like, no, I will never let this happen. And because he's a justice of the peace and he's very well known, he said, okay, I'm going to go to these people's home and I'm going to tell them that I am going to take care of his education. And I go, but Dad, he's a Muslim. He says, don't you ever, ever think that way again. And
so that was the man, a devout Hindu, but
a Brahmin who would stop and say, don't you ever, ever say that again.
And Brahmin, they're the
upper class.
Yes. Now, it's interesting because you've probably heard the term Boston Brahmins. Well, they were the people from the very best families, not necessarily wealthy, but they had lineage. They had, you know, ancestors that came over from the Mayflower or whatever, 1630, but it's an interesting, it's an interesting relationship there, meaning the same thing, basically. So he was a Brahmin, he was a Hindu, a religious, devout Hindu, and that was thanks to his grandmother.
Right. And he got in his car and he went to these people's home and told the mother, and the son was there, that he will take care of his books, everything to do with education. And he came home and he made a list of all the rich people he knew who would donate money. And he took that responsibility until he finished high school.
Isn't that a wonderful story? He sounds like such a remarkable man.